on this episode of the Clip Service Podcast. Guys, it's the final episode of the regular season. Well, technically the regular season's already over, but this is the regular season recap episode, and we're going to talk both about the regular season, which has been one of my favorite seasons so far in recent memory from this team. A lot to really like. It's been a roller coaster for sure, but there's been a ton of positives, and we are going to cover all of that, and then we're gonna get into the playoff preview for the Los Angeles Clippers. For those of you that don't know, the Clippers are set to play the Denver Nuggets, the 2020 rematch between the Clippers and the Nuggets after the Nuggets took the win against the Clippers in the bubble after the Clippers blew a 3-1 victory. So a lot to play for, a lot of history in the making coming up with this series. So a lot to unpack, guys, and we are going to get into all of it. I apologize. My voice is very hoarse right now. I was at the watch party at Intuit Dome for the last game of the season against the Warriors, which is a great time. I'll talk about that as well. But my voice is definitely feeling the brunt of that. So without further ado, guys, let's make it happen.
What's up, Clipper Nation? Like what you saw last week?
Mischievous Rola.
How you guys doing? Welcome to the Clip Service Podcast. Please make sure to check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Amazon Music, and YouTube.
Whoa.
And also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Clip Service Pod. I'm your boy Rola. This is my co-host Nick. Let's get right into it.
Let's get right into it. Guys, the Clippers finished out the 2024-2025 regular season. What are you laughing at?
Nothing.
No, you got to tell me now. Share it for everyone to
dude,
hear.
I got nothing to say, bro.
Is it my voice?
I'm just in a good mood, bro. Clip Nation, bro.
Dude, me too. The Clippers finish the regular season with a record, surprisingly, to a lot of people coming into this season that thought the Clippers were going to be out of the play-in, weren't even going to make the play-in. They made a terrible decision by not re-signing Paul George. It was all of that and more. I couldn't stand what I was hearing.
Terrible decision to not re-sign Paul George.
A lot of people were you're good. A lot of people were shitting on the Clippers for letting Paul George walk. They said the Clippers would get worse. And granted, I didn't think the Clippers were going to be like significantly better, like kind of like they have been without Paul George. I mean, that's a big void to fill. But I think it's safe to say that the Clippers have completely blown most of the predictions that a lot of people had for this team out of the water. Both, from what we see in the numbers to just like a vibes perspective. But the Clippers finished 50-32, which is, I think, the third best record since 2016. And this was all without Paul George. This is the first season that the Clippers played, without, the 2-1-3 era as we know it. And Kawhi, didn't play this season until about 40 games in, 35 games in. Norman Powell was a huge part of that. Norman Powell was, as you guys can recall, Norman Powell was playing like an all-star for most of this season. James Harden played damn near every game, looked great. There were some ups and downs, but towards the second half of the season, he really stepped it up. And then I think the guy that really encapsulates the success of this Clippers season among many individuals is Ivica Zubac, who, I've said it time and time again, has played like a top 3 center this season, has blown all of his numbers from last year and the years prior out of the water. He leads the team in win shares. Like, the dude his growth has been, and Zach Lowe, shouts out Zach Lowe, was talking about it on his podcast the other day, and he said that Ivica Zubac has been an all-time developmental story. Like, and I can't disagree with him, to see where Zoo has come from the point that he was traded to the Clippers, and even before when he was playing for the Lakers, to the point that he's at now is just. I always saw the potential, but I didn't see. I don't think I saw this level that we've seen this season. I don't know. What do you have to say about that, Roland?
Yeah, if you're not on the Zoo bandwagon by now, then you're not watching basketball. You're not watching NBA basketball, and
Zuhive stand up.
you're not a locked in fan.
Yeah.
That's just a fact. Zubac has been a top three, top two center in the league, big man in the league, and that is a straight fact. When you look at the numbers, when you look at the impact, he has been that guy. And I was one of those people, and I still think that Zoo has, is a liability at times. Do think that he will be exploited in the playoffs, just because when smaller guards have that center, like large center outside of the paint, it is generally barbecue chicken. But like I was saying at the end of last playoffs, to start this year, Zoo was one of the only guys last year that actually looked like he wanted to be out on the floor, and that was my biggest gripe with the Clippers was it didn't look like we wanted it. Russell Westbrook, I mean, we could talk about him. We might talk
Oh, we're
about him
going
later
to. Yeah.
later this podcast. But there were players that were on our team that looked like straight garbage and looked like they didn't want to win, and it was him and and it was Zoo and Terrence Mann that I called out. They were the only two players that I felt like deserved any sort of recognition, and Zoo answered that playoff run with an even better regular season, and to and pretty much like to not even recognize that, you like I was saying, you're just not paying attention. Zoo has been that guy, and I expect him to continue being that guy in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't have said it better myself. He's been a huge reason why the Clippers have been able to not only stay afloat while Kawhi Leonard was, rehabbing from the surgery that he got this offseason, and that when they were waiting for him to get back,
Mm-hmm.
but just the success defensively. I mean, there are a lot of guys that you can credit for the defense that has really been the Clippers' calling card all season long. Clippers, as it stands right now, are third in defensive rating. At times they were number one. At times they were number two. They were always top 10 pretty much this whole season. But Zoo's been a huge part of that. He's been their anchor defensively. Chris
Mm-hmm.
Dunn's been amazing on that end. I can't think of more than maybe one or two perimeter defenders that have been better than Chris Dunn this season. Derek Jones has been fantastic on
Yep.
that end. Nico Batum really, recently when he's started to kind of get back into form, he's been a huge part of that. Like the Clippers have been such a sound defensive team, and Zoo's been a huge part of that. In the
Mm-hmm.
interior, not only like defending shots, but keeping opponents off of the offensive glass. He's been one of the best defensive rebounders in the league, if not the best. He leads the league in rebounds this season. Like the
Mm-hmm.
dude has done it all, and he's doing it as a traditional center, which is the coolest part. Like the center position has gravitated towards like a stretch five or like a five that can handle the ball and play at the perimeter and stuff. But Zeus gets all of his points, off floaters, baby hooks, and
I have a
and
question for you, Nick.
layups. Sure.
So why isn't Zoo being considered for Defensive Player of the Year?
I don't know, dude. I really don't. And I understand
What
that,
does Mobley
there's
have that Zoo doesn't have?
so Mobley is a fantastic defender. I said that when he came into the league that this
Mm-hmm.
dude was going to be a generational defender, and he is showing that for sure. I mean, the Cavs are, I think, still the best team in the league, or if not second, certainly the best team in the East. And with Mobley, it's the positional versatility that he provides on defense, right? He can truly guard like 2 through 5, or 1 through 5 at times. He's unswitchable. He's great, but the Cavs haven't been this defensive presence like the Clippers have, and I think that Zoo, you know, the Clippers defense as a team is reflective of Zoo's impact defensively. And he's not as glamorous of a defender as Mobley, but he's certainly as effective, if not more effective. And then with the Draymond thing, I think that all of these awards have kind of become like a not like there's a sense of novelty with them, and Draymond is one of the greatest defenders of all time, truly.
Mm-hmm.
But the Warriors didn't really start playing well until they traded for Jimmy Butler, and he, Draymond's been great, and in moments all season long defensively, but Zoo's done it the whole season, and
Hmm.
it's interesting. I think Zoo should be considered for Defensive Player of the Year. I think he should be considered for Most Improved Player. Um, for certainly a defensive, all defensive team, first, second, or third.
Isn't Zoo
But
leading the I guess projections for most improved player?
no, Cade Cunningham is,
Are you
which
sure?
to
I
me
thought I
is
saw something
weird.
recently that Zoo was. Wait, didn't the voting already? Am I crazy?
Maybe if you looked at a list that I made,
Oh, is that
but
you?
I've never made a list, but
Oh, dude,
but
I could have sworn I saw it like earlier today. Zoo got.
maybe I don't know, but as far as I know, I think Cade's leading it, and Cade is next up. Cade's one of my favorite young players in the league, and he's here. He really is him. But Cade was a first option last year, and Cade was a number one pick, and I just think that like guys like that should be considered for more like all NBA teams and MVPs and stuff. I don't think that they should be making most improved player. But I don't know. That's neither here nor there. Basically, bottom line is Zoo's been incredible, and he's been a huge part of the formula for success with this Clippers team. That's really blown, um, as I said, kind of blown everybody's projections of this team out of the water. And he's not the only one. Norm Powell, like I said before, has really completely outshined his expectations this season. Norm was walking into 35 points a game at one point this season, and he did get hurt, and he's kind of trying to get back to his flow state since he's been back. But everybody's really stepped up. And I think the most important formula is Kawhi Leonard, since he's come back, has slowly started to ramp up. And this is the most, I don't know, I want to choose my words carefully, but this is the best I've seen Kawhi look since 2019, truly. I think that, like, and we say it every year and it ends in failure, ends in
Disappointment.
heartbreak or whatever. But I really don't think I've seen Kawhi this explosive, this mobile. I mean, he looks like borderline Spurs Kawhi, in terms of like
He
mobility and stuff. And
looks fantastic.
he looks fantastic. And the difference is the formula has changed to where he didn't start playing until more than halfway through the season. And like
Yeah.
that's something that's changed, and maybe it'll work. I
Is it?
mean, it's
I don't think that's something that's changed. And I will say this: I think Kawhi is playing at peak performance right now, currently. But I do think that we've seen him play like this before, and I think the last time we saw him play at this level was the series against the Suns. Was that 2 years ago? With the one game that he almost willed us to a win against Kevin Durant and Devin Booker.
sure, yeah, no, I mean, I don't disagree with you there, but like you have
And I
to
think he only played like half the season that year too.
he did play more games, and he had like 10, 15 more games of in-game knocks and stuff like that. The difference to me this year is that the Kawhi that we were seeing, because when he comes back from injury, he never seems to skip a beat, and that's just a testament to his work ethic. But we saw that version of Kawhi three-quarters of the way into the regular season, right? And
Hmm.
we would be like, "Oh, I'm trying to just make it to the playoffs," but he's already made it to the playoffs, and he's looking that good. So,
Yep.
um, obviously, knock on all the wood that you have in your surrounding area. But I mean, if Kawhi stays healthy, man, like
Sky's the limit.
he's looked like a complete world beater. In the last like chunk of games, and we're gonna recap these games. Actually, let's might as well just get into it. We'll keep
Hmm.
talking about the season as a whole. Um, After we get through these recaps, but I did want to finish out the last four games of the season. The Clippers, as you guys probably know, the Clippers finished this regular season on an 8-game win streak, which is awesome. The,
Yep.
the biggest win streak in the NBA to finish out the season. Um, the first that we're going to be talking about was a game against the Spurs. This was a fun game. The Spurs kind of gave the Clippers everything they had. The following, I think it was either the following game or one of the games after that, the Spurs ended up beating the Golden State Warriors on a buzzer beater by Harrison Barnes, which has to hurt. But the Spurs didn't stop playing competitive basketball until the season ended, and this game was a testament to that. Um, the
Hmm.
Clippers end up taking a 122 to 117 victory. against the Spurs. It was a slow start for the Clippers, um, and the Spurs did take an early lead. The Clippers kind of looked okay in spurts in this one. Early on, one of the things that I noticed was Norm was kind of starting to force things again, which has been kind of a central theme since he's come back. And I've talked about it on this pod. Like I think Norm's kind of trying to get back to the Norm that we saw from him when Kawhi wasn't playing,
Hmm.
and I can't blame him for that. But I think that he's kind of he's got to figure out how to reel it in. Um, but the Clippers cut the lead to two at the half, and after the halftime, Norm kind of comes out firing and gives the Clippers the jolt that they needed. They start to gain momentum, and Norm opens up a strong push and gets the lead to 14. I think at the end of the third, Spurs chip into that, but Norm and Bogey kind of put the hammer down for the Spurs or for the Clippers towards the end of the game, and the Clippers end up winning this one. Kawhi wasn't active in this one. I believe this was part of a back to back. So basic bottom line, talking about Norm, Norm ended up finishing the game with 25 points, led the Clippers, 24 from Ivica Zubac with 20 rebounds, just another monster game from Zoo. More of a quiet game from James Harden, 21 points, but he did have 12 assists. And Derek Jones with 18 points. I mean, he really chipped in and helped out. Bogey got it cooking late on in the game. 17 for 11 from the field, 19 points from him. The rest of the bench didn't really do much outside of Nico Batum, but yeah, the Clippers just kind of found a way to win this one. It was starting to get a little dicey at one point, but the Clippers, as they have been, during this stretch of wins, really found a way to win this game. Did you see anything that jumped off the page in this one, Rula?
No, but I do have a little stat.
Got a little
Um,
something something for me.
yeah, so I think everyone knows that in a regular season, there's highs and lows, and a lot of the players say this, and when they're being interviewed, I know Paul George said this too. Is you're trying to, of course, there's going to be lows. There's going to be points in this. It's a long season. There's going to be points in the season when the team is just not clicking, and they lose games, right? Um, in the Clippers scenario, well, basically, players say they try to time when the team is clicking towards the end of the season, and then you go into the playoffs clicking, right? Um, you know, One thing about the Clippers that I've seen from this season, here's a stat is that we won the last out of the last 21 games, we only lost 3 games. 18 out of 21 of the games were wins, and that was after. So we lost 3 in a row. We lost the back to back to the Lakers, and then we lost an embarrassing game to the Phoenix Suns. And then
That was
after
horrible.
that, we won 18 out of the next 21 games to end the season.
It's yeah,
That's insane.
it's incredible, and I'm glad that you brought that up because this is kind of more on this season encapsulation thing, but things were looking pretty dicey for the
Yeah.
Clippers, in January, and it came to a head at that point. You were talking about the Clippers lose back to back games against the Lakers in like pretty devastating fashion,
Hmm.
and then they had a chance to beat up on the Suns, who didn't even. For those of you that don't know, they didn't even make the play in, the Suns, and
And they played
completely
horrible that game.
they are completely crumbling, and they played horrible that game. Kevin Durant pushed Mike Budenholzer, who is no longer the Suns head coach.
Yeah.
It was looking like shit, and then if you guys remember, the Suns found a way to win it, take advantage of some sloppy play by the Suns, and ended up winning probably their favorite game of the season in what was a horrible season for the
Yeah.
Phoenix Suns. But things were looking terrible, and we'll talk about it in our favorite games of the season. But the Clippers ended up turning it around from some huge performances from guys like James Harden, a 50-point performance against the Detroit Pistons in Intuit Dome with Barack Obama in attendance
Hmm.
was one of those games. But it's a just testament to the Clippers never doubting themselves and finding a way to turn it around. It's just been amazing.
Right. Yeah. So basically, I just wanted to say, I think the Clippers are, going into the playoffs at, in the best case scenario. Like you said, we won the last 8 games of the season with our only 2 losses as of recent time, I guess, in March. Were against the top 2 teams in the league,
Yeah.
OKC and Cleveland.
Hmm.
And I don't want to give a pass to those teams because we are trying to win a championship, and to be the best, you got to beat the best. And in the regular in our streak of wins, we did not beat those. I guess beat the best, two best. Um, but I think that going into the playoffs, I feel really good. Um, but at the end of the day, it's all dependent on health, which is
Oh
probably
no,
the
and
biggest issue about the Clippers, and which is
it
why
totally.
people are concerned and always pause to give the Clippers their flowers, or or choose the Clippers to win, just because at the end of the day, every season since 2019 has kind of ended pretty much more or less the same.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, health will out. I love what I've seen, and during this game against the Spurs, um, it was just kind of a testament to the fact that the Clippers, were able to get out of these games healthy and handle business down the stretch. I mean, it's so
Yeah.
easy for teams. It's so easy for teams to hit cruise control, or lose focus towards the end of the season. But I mean, if
Yeah.
it's any testament in the 8 game win streak that the Clippers finished out the season with, Clippers poured it on,
Yeah.
and they dug deep and found a level of energy that I didn't even know that they had. But yeah, the Clippers handled business against the Spurs. Following game was against the Rockets. I was kind of concerned about this one, but I think earlier that day, um, the Rockets announced that they were basically resting all of their major pieces except for Jalen
Mhm.
Green, who played the first half. So I was going into this one thinking, it would be a cakewalk. It kind of wasn't, unfortunately. The Clipper or the Rockets third string guys were hitting the most absurd shots, specifically from three. I mean, Uncle Jeff, Jeff Green, turned back the clock, had 4 threes, 19 points. Um, Aaron Holiday had a great game, had 4 threes himself, 16 points. Reed Shepard, 6 threes. It was basically it was a very close game for most of this one. But the thing that I liked about this one was right off the bat, it was it had a just because of what was at stake, it had a very playoff vibe to it, and the arena was very loud, and both teams were playing with a ton of energy. Uh, right off the bat, Nico looked great. When he checked in off the bench, he only played in 9 minutes before he, I think, pulled something in his groin and unfortunately didn't play in the second half. But he had 15 points in 9 minutes. He had a 4 point play. Nico looked great, and it just showed like that's the version of Nico that we're going to need in the playoffs. We'll talk about
Mhm.
it as well later on in the episode, but Nico got it cooking. Um, he looked great. The Clippers, it was kind of like a back and forth affair. Unfortunately, the Clippers did at one point have give the Rockets the lead, the third string Rockets the lead. But like I said, they were playing like crazy. Um, but the one constant in this one was Kawhi looked great in this one. Not necessarily in the stat sheet. I mean, he was only 9 for 22, but just physically, Kawhi looked really really good. Um,
Yeah.
if you look at the box score, James Harden had 35 points. He kind of erupted late in the game, but there was one play that kind of sticks out in my mind where Kawhi grabbed the rebound and went coast to coast and dunked it on a couple Rockets. And watching that, that's what looked to me like the Kawhi that I'm so excited to see in the
His
playoffs. I
bounce is
mean,
different, dude.
his bounce truly is different.
No, like
And
like from recent years. I feel
yeah,
like recently, or I guess in recent years, he's never really. I mean, of course, he's dunked on people, but I think he's like, it's almost like he's getting up higher, or like he just has more of like that twitch muscle, and whatever rehab they did this time. I mean, like he just looks more. He just looks healthier.
he does, and I think that kind of plays into what I was saying, where like the Clippers didn't activate him till later in the season, and we're
Hmm.
seeing this rejuvenated version of Kawhi, and he hasn't had to hold anything back either, which has been, I think, the difference. Is like you see when Kawhi's starting to ramp up, you can tell like he's holding something back, but he really
Hmm.
hasn't held back, especially in this game. He was dunking everything. That he
Yeah.
almost had like the put back of the season. Uh, he looked great. Obviously, I mentioned James Harden, 35 points. with 10 assists. There's one guy that I wanted to shout out in terms of the box score, but I'll get to that after I talk about the fourth quarter. Um, there was some absurd shooting for the Rockets, in the third quarter, and it really the Clippers didn't start separating until late in the third. But towards the end of the game, started to look at the box score, and Ivica Zubac was creeping up on a triple double, which is something that he has not been able to achieve up to this point in his career. And the Clippers were starting to put the hammer down late in the fourth, and there was about a minute and a half left in the game, and Ty was getting ready to take Zoo out, and Ty left him in for one more possession. And Zoo and Bogey talked about it after the game, but Zoo basically said, "I'm going to give you this pass, and you just got to shoot it no matter what." And it was a play where basically Zoo catches the inbound, dribble handoff, Bogey curls around to the 3-point line, pulls up, really, really tough three, and it rattles in. And that was the last assist that Zoo needed to complete the triple double. Zoo ends up getting his first triple double of his career. It was such a cool moment. The whole crowd was going insane. Um, Shouts out to Bogey for hitting that tough shot.
Yeah.
It was such a cool moment, and it was a great way to cap a really hard fought game against the Rockets. And It was one of my favorite moments of the season. But yeah, this game was awesome for a lot of reasons, but that one stood out to me the most. There were a couple guys that really deserve a shout out that chipped in. Like I said, Nico Bogey was incredible. Kobe Brown actually came in for a couple minutes and had some really big impactful plays. Drew Eubanks played a bit, wasn't great. It's going to be kind of an issue I think going forward, but we do have Ben Simmons,
Mhm.
so that kind of helps that a little bit. But yeah, I think overall that triple double was the highlight of the game. Rolly, did you have anything that stood out in this one?
Yeah, I gotta say the triple double also. We've been talking about Zoo all year, and it kind of is just like a cherry on top for him to kind of get that triple double and kind of show everyone that he's just a well-rounded player, and he kind of ended the season showing everyone that um, he's on that level. He's on the top tier of big men in the league, and he deserves to be treated as such.
Totally. Just a fantastic way to close out the season. The Clippers ended up playing the Kings the following game. This one was a little dicey. Clippers take a 101 to 100 win against the Kings. At this point, the Kings were really fighting for uh, position to get home court advantage in the play-in. They weren't getting out of the play-in, obviously, but they were trying to maintain that lead against the Dallas Mavericks to at least get home court in the game to determine the eighth seed in the West. So they were playing hard, but I mean this game was pretty sloppy across the board. It was you know super. We knew the Clipper fans knew how important this game was going to be coming into it. The last time that this Clippers team played the Kings resulted in a buzzer beater win by Kawhi, a buzzer beater shot to win by Kawhi Leonard.
Hmm.
So it was a close game too, and this game was pretty sloppy. Unfortunately, it was a super solid start for Norm in the first quarter, which was awesome to see. But the Kings get out to like a 10-point lead, early in the second quarter, and things were starting to look a little sketch. Clippers end up cutting into the lead and actually take a 1-point lead going into the half. But yeah, just really physical game all the way throughout. If we're talking box score, James Harden with 23, 28 from Kawhi Leonard. Great game from him on decent efficiency, 10 for 21. Zoo 17 and 11. Norm with the 16 points was good. There were at times where he was getting a little bit sloppy. Um, but yeah, this game pretty much came down to the wire. The Clippers get like three straight offensive rebounds late in the game to kind of regain the control, but there was one late turnover by James Harden that almost cost them the game. James ended up having five turnovers for the game, but basically the Clippers were up one with I think like 10 seconds left on the clock. James Harden tries to inbound the ball. Ball gets stolen. The Kings call a timeout with about 3 seconds left on the clock, and the Kings had a chance to win it. They come out of the timeout. Thankfully, Ivica Zubac and Chris Dunn um, saw right when DeMar DeRozan catches the ball, they trapped him and did a good job to stop the three, and ended up just narrowly escaping this one with the win. But aside from the 5 turnovers, James Harden triple double from him, 11 rebounds, 10 assists, 23 points. I mean, he was great at times, but the turnovers did almost cost these guys um, in the game. But regardless, Clippers ended up escaping this one with a 1 point win. Anything from this one, Rula?
No, not really. Like you said, it was a game that we kind of had to win.
All of these
Especially,
games were.
yeah, but especially kind of looking at the standings beforehand. It was just one of those ones where, to get where we wanted to go, we kind of just knew we had to win this one and the last one. But yeah, with the Kings, I mean, you know, we beat them, we swept them this season. And me, myself, and Nick went to. For those that don't know, myself, and Nick went to the second game of the season,
Yes,
and
it was a blowout.
we blew them out. So, and that was when they had Darren Fox. So it was kind of like, I think the last 2 games that we played against them for the season, they were kind of on a revenge tour. But I think that we are a veteran team, and we kind of, those are the type of wins that a veteran team can kind of get.
Yeah, totally. I mean, Zach LaVine definitely made it interesting late, and he's really helped them out since the trade. Since they traded away De'Aaron Fox, I mean, obviously they're a low playing team, and their expectations obviously aren't very high this season or postseason if they make it.
Hmm.
Um, but they certainly made it interesting. But the Clippers found a way to win. Every win was so important up to this point. I mean, everything was separated literally by a tiebreaker. Um, but yeah, just a great way to kind of lock in. And one thing I do like about these games is this will provide good footage for the team and for Ty Lue to show the team, in late game execution and things that they can improve on. Because that's what
Right.
the playoffs boil down to is this, just late game execution and winning on the margins. So if there is one consolation from games like this, it's that. But the final game of the season, the biggest game of the entire season, was the game against the Golden State Warriors. Both teams were kind of grappling for position. I think at this point, if the Clippers won, they would solidify a playoff spot, fifth as it stands.
Yeah.
And if the Warriors won, the Clippers would be bounced down to the seventh seed. So there were huge playoff implications in
And the
this one.
Warriors would have
Obviously,
gotten the 6th seed if they won.
Warriors would have gotten the sixth seed. Yeah. Um, but yeah, this was a huge game. There was a watch party at Intuit Dome out in the plaza. I ended up going to that with my buddy Shay, and that was so cool. For those of you out there listening that didn't go, or it was such a cool experience. And shouts out to all the Clipper fans that came through. It was a great turnout. Got to chat with a bunch of Clipper fans, and the energy was really good. I got to chat with the homie Dime Dropper. Shouts out Dime. Talk hoops with him. But yeah, the vibes were incredible at this event. And the coolest thing is like stuff like this wouldn't have happened at Staples Center. Like it's really just a
Facts.
testament to like how great it is that the Clippers have this new arena and that there's so much care that goes into this arena. But this game was a nail biter that ended up going to
Yeah.
overtime. Um, Clippers end up taking the win. Spoiler alert, 124 to 119 in overtime. But this game was so back and forth. The Golden State Warriors ended up having a 13-point lead at one point. I almost said Steph Harden. Steph Curry went bonkers in the fourth quarter, ended up having 36 points. Draymond Green had 4 threes in this one, which was just
Bro,
horrible to watch.
nuts.
Um, 30 points from Jimmy Butler. Good amount of his points came from got 9 attempts from the free throw line, 6 points from the free throw, 6 points from the free throw line. Was 12 for 20. But in terms of the Clippers, what a game from James Harden. 39
Mm-hmm.
points, 10 assists, hit some dagger threes late in the game in overtime. Kawhi Leonard looked awesome in this one, sealed the game with some free throws and some lockdown D. Uh, really solid game from Zubats. 22 points, 17 rebounds. Uh, there were at times when Draymond's switchability and his defensive versatility were kind of holding him back a little bit. But overall, really good game. And the X factor, Chris Dunn, perfect from the
Mm-hmm.
field, 4 for 4, 3 for 3 from three, which was awesome to see. I said it before. If Chris Dunn can get that three ball to fall in the playoffs, watch out because he's going to be given so many open looks. 11 points from Chris Dunn and that lockdown defense that he always provides. This was kind of a shaky game from Norm and from Bogey, which we kind of hope to not see moving forward in the playoffs
Norm
because we're
hit
going to
that
need at
buzzer
least
beater though, dude.
he did hit
Don't
that
talk
buzzer
shit.
beater at the half, and he did hit he did hit the bucket late in the game that kind of put it away,
Yeah.
or at least tied it up to send it to overtime. Um, a shaky game from a couple people. Amir Coffey looked horrible coming into this game. Checked in,
Mm-hmm.
blew like a dribble handoff play, lost it out of bounds. 0 points, 4 minutes from Amir. I'm really curious to see what his minutes look like in the playoffs because he really hasn't
There,
looked good since he's come back.
he's. I don't think he'll get almost 0 minutes. I think.
I don't.
Just
Yeah.
because
I mean, go ahead.
this is gonna be pretty much, in my I guess opinion, you know, coaches don't really go deep into their bench during the playoffs,
Hmm.
and they kind of like to play their start. I mean, it's the reason why they get paid the big bucks. They like to play their starters,
Sure.
and for example, in this game, Kawhi played 47 minutes, and that was such a big
Yeah.
thing that people were talking about was even the fact that he was even able to play this many minutes
Sure. Yeah.
is honestly pretty impressive. James Harden played 42 minutes, or sorry,
No,
James Harden
48.
played 48 minutes, and James
Yeah.
Harden has kind of just been doing this, and
He's been
you
a
know,
freak, dude.
I don't know who his conditioning coach is, but that dude needs a raise expeditiously, dude, because
Yeah.
he has been playing so many minutes for so long now, and at a high
Without
level, and
question. Like he's
yeah,
willing to do it, which is so cool.
yes, and we've seen almost no drop off the entire season. I think that it's very impressive. I think a lot of people were talking about during the All Star, if James Harden deserved to be an All Star over Norman Powell, and at the time, I thought that Norman Powell deserved to be, and he was the number one guy that deserved to be an All Star. But when you look at the season as a whole, it's undeniable what James Harden has been doing, and he's been doing it like on the low, like on the lowest of keys.
Yeah.
And they haven't really talked about him on that, on that level of like Jokic or Giannis or Shea. But I feel like he's
Dude, I
had
had
a
him as my
similar
MVP pick
impact.
coming into the season.
Yeah,
Like,
I feel like he's had a similar impact. I think he's had pretty similar numbers. So not really sure why he isn't even in the MVP. Like you were saying, like he's not even in the MVP discussion. When they talk about MVPs, his name is almost never brought up. And I think that might be a motivational factor for him,
yeah,
as to why he's been balling out this year. Maybe he wants them to talk about him in that light, and maybe he's going after the Finals MVP this year.
totally. I mean, that's what I love about this Clippers team too, is there's so much to prove. Like with Zoo, with Norm,
Hmm.
with Harden, with Kawhi, there's been so many receipts that you can go through where it's fodder for motivation. And James Harden has played like a motivated dude this season
Yeah.
and among everybody on the Clippers. And it was a testament in this one, 39 points. Really, most of the Clippers this game really willed their way to the win. Like I said, Norman Powell and Bogey were getting hunted on defense. We're going to talk about that in the playoff recap or playoff preview. Getting hunted on defense a little bit, and the shot really wasn't falling consistently. Another
Hmm.
thing is this was a rough Ben Simmons game. I will say, Rola is not as big of a fan of Ben Simmons on this team as I am, but I do think that Ben Simmons is one guy that is very uh, he's elevated by the play of Nico Batum because you have that shooter to play next to in the front court. So when
Hmm.
Nico stretches out the floor, that leaves a little bit more room for Ben to kind of navigate the paint and navigate that low post, both as a playmaker or to score. So I do think that hopefully, if Nico can get back healthy, I think he's still nursing that groin injury. We really need him in the playoffs,
Hmm.
and I think Ben Simmons, his play will be elevated because of that. Because Ben Simmons is important to this team. Drew Eubanks, I don't think is a playoff backup center, and I really do think that Ben Simmons can be this in this playoff run. So obviously, that remains to be seen. We will see when we see, but overall, fantastic game from the Clippers to really put a chef's kiss on this season, and
Yeah.
it was a great time to enjoy it with all those Clipper fans at the watch party. So shouts out to Steve Ballmer for doing stuff like this
Shouts
for
out.
for Clipper fans, and just a great way to end the season. But yeah, the Clippers end up taking the win and solidify. Unfortunately, it was a fifth seed matchup against the Denver Nuggets, but a matchup against the Denver Nuggets nonetheless. The Clippers would have had the fourth seed if the Rockets handled business against the Nuggets, or if the Timberwolves lost to the Jazz, which was not going to happen.
Hmm.
They're in full capture the flag mode. So the Clippers end up solidifying the fifth seed, which is great. They don't have to play in a play-in. Right now, the Hawks just lost to the Magic in the play-in, and the Memphis Grizzlies are playing the Golden State Warriors. I did not want the Clippers to play in any extra games. If we're talking about health, it just puts that at a
Oh, they're playing
risk.
right now,
They're
actually.
playing right now, yeah, to decide the seventh seed to play the Rockets. So Clippers were able to at least do that. So a 4-5 matchup. This to me was one of my preferred matchups. I know, hopefully I don't eat those words, but um, with everything that's coalesced with the Nuggets the last couple weeks, it was something that I liked. But before we get into this playoff preview, Rolla, I want you to answer one question for me. To
Hmm.
encapsulate this 2024-25 season, which has been an absolute joy, for a lot of moments. What was your favorite moment of this season
Um, yeah, I think my favorite moment has got to be the Kawhi game winner against the Kings
against
in
the Kings?
double overtime or single overtime.
Hmm.
Just because honestly, I don't think Kawhi's had a buzzer beater game winner since
It's been a couple years, I think.
I don't even know. I don't even know when. I think the last time I've seen Kawhi kind of like put a game away was the playoffs against the Mavs a few years ago.
He had a
Um,
walk off against the Magic, I think, a year or two ago.
mm,
But
yeah,
it wasn't
but
at the buzzer.
right.
So
Yeah, so I think this year, I mean, kind of knowing what Kawhi kind of has been through recently, it was kind of just, like I was saying, just cherry on top type beat to end the season this season, and I'm really looking forward to the playoffs.
totally. I think as far as my favorite moments, there's a lot. The Zoo's triple double was fantastic. Norm, I think it was a 45, 46 point game against I, the Bucks, maybe. I can't remember, but Norm had a career game. But to me, the biggest game of the season, my favorite moment of the season was James Harden's 50-point game against the Detroit Pistons, who were cruising at that point. Detroit Pistons have been awesome this season. This was at the tail end of that stretch where the Clippers looked like they were pretty much going nowhere. I think it was in February. Um, Clippers lose back-to-back games against the Lakers, lose that game against the Suns, and this Pistons game was the second out of a back-to-back. And with Barack Obama sitting courtside, James Harden
Mm,
drops 50 points in the second out of a back-to-back against a really, really good Detroit Pistons team to help them win that game and turn the season around. Like that was to me the moment that the season turned around and the Clippers really put the hammer down. And that's something I'll never forget. That was such a cool moment. But yeah, there's been a lot of great moments this season. Ben Simmons' debut, I think it was against the Utah Jazz, but it was still seeing Ben Simmons contribute on this team. That was a really cool moment. Um, there were a lot of really great moments, but that to me was my favorite. Um, but yeah, guys, without further ado, we're going to hop right into the playoff preview against the Denver Nuggets, who no more than like 5 years ago sent the Clippers packing in the bubble after the Clippers blew a 3-1 lead. Doc Rivers was at the helm. Um, and that was one of the worst moments, that the Clippers fans can remember in recent history. That was up there with the
Mm-hmm.
Rockets collapse and, the Kawhi injury against the Jazz. Like, that was horrible. And so there's a lot of little narratives in this series. The Russell Westbrook maybe revenge tour that Nuggets are hoping
Who
for.
gives a fuck about Russell
Um,
Westbrook, bro?
the matchup between the two Balkan bigs, the king of the Balkan bigs in Nikola Jokic, and the maybe up and coming guy
King.
in Ivica Zubac. That's going to be a great matchup. I mean, Zoo has had some of his the best games of his career against Nikola Jokic. It's always been a great matchup between those two. Um, a lot of yeah, a lot of little narratives in this one. I feel like this has been kind of a long time coming. I don't know. It feels like fate, maybe. We'll see. I would have loved to have home court advantage. Denver is a tough building to play in, but
Mm.
the Clippers got their matchup, and the first game will be at 12 p.m. Pacific time on Saturday, this upcoming Saturday. Really looking forward to it. Rolla, just jumping off the page, what are some things that you are looking for, whether positive or negative, or what you're excited about, what you're scared about, right off the bat going into this series?
I have a few things, and I just wrote it down. Um, you know, I personally thought that the Clippers would have been better off losing that game against the Golden State Warriors and going into the play-in tournament.
Oh,
Um,
you still think that?
I still think that. Um,
Okay.
and this is because, one, I don't think the Grizzlies are a playoff level team. I don't think they even come
They're
close
getting
to.
beat by the Warriors right now pretty bad.
Yeah, and I think that, although it is an extra game, I don't think that it's a high effort extra game. Of course, anything can happen, right? But I just felt like that risk was worth taking, because I think the matchup with the Rockets is gonna be worth it. Would have been worth it in the long run, because I don't think that we would have had to
Rockets are
put.
scary, dude.
The Rockets are scary, but I don't think that we would have to put in as much effort as we will have to do against the Nuggets. My
That's
first bullet
interesting.
point for for why I believe that going down to 7 and facing the Rockets in the first round would have been better than winning and playing Denver was, one, Denver at home, their stadium, everyone talks about it. It's a difficult place to play basketball,
What about the Clipper
and
Stadium? Clippers
no,
are
but I'm talking
amazing
about
into
just
it.
straight up, like they are out of breath within
The
the
altitude.
first couple of minutes. Yeah,
Yeah.
the altitude. They're out of breath within the first couple of minutes. Difficult place to play in, and because we're the fifth seed, they get the home court advantage in a
Sure.
game 7 situation, which is not the best. The second, even though Denver lost their coach and their GM, they still have Nikola Jokic,
Of
who
course.
averaged a triple double this season, who's capable of putting up a 60-point triple double in any
In a
given game,
loss. In a
in
loss.
a loss, but in any given game. Um, I love Zoo, but to say that Zoo is going to be able to hold him down for 7 games is kind of unrealistic. So it's kind of just like, for 4 out of those 7 games, overcoming Jokic, his beast mode, for lack of a better phrase. My third thing is this Nuggets team. They are, championship tested. They won literally 2 years ago. They've been there. They've been through it. Christian Braun, some of their role players have been there. Obviously, Jamal Murray and Jokic, have led the team there, so they know what it takes. And not to say that the Clippers haven't done it, but I think it's pretty much only Kawhi that has a chip on the team.
No, no,
So
Norm.
and sorry, Kawhi and
And
Norm.
General Mills. What about Patty?
I don't know if he counts, dude. I don't know if he'll get any playing time,
What
dude.
about Patty, dude?
Um, but I just think that, like, all of that together, plus last year we saw firsthand how difficult it was for the Timberwolves to beat the Nuggets, and they beat them in 7 games. And because they put in so much effort, in my opinion, because they put in so much effort into beating the Nuggets, they played a
Mavericks.
Mavs team that had a couple days of rest, and that Mavs team really just took advantage of
Sure.
depleted, tired Timberwolves team. And in this situation, if we were to beat the Nuggets, I think that we aren't going to beat them in anything less than 7 games. We would play OKC next if
If
potentially
OKC
OKC.
wins, yeah.
And OKC would be playing the Grizzlies or the Kings or whoever.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a sweep, and so we're going to be playing a rested OKC, which I feel like is not a good situation.
Sure.
And then my final thing is, everyone knows how I feel about Jamal Murray. I think in the playoffs, that's where he shines. He rarely makes mistakes, and he's clutch for the Nuggets. And those are all, bridges that we have to overcome. I think that it is possible, but I just don't think that it's, going to be an easy ride.
No,
This
I
is,
agree with you there.
of course they lost their coach, but I think that this team is battle tested, and
Sure.
it's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with most of that. I do disagree with the fact that the Clippers should have gone for the play in. First of all, being it seems like every time the Clippers try to play around with the basketball gods and try and decide their fate in terms of like going
What
down or
about last
whatever,
year?
throwing games, they did the same thing last year, didn't they?
No, we didn't. We won a game to play the Mavs,
Oh, okay, but last year was kind of a shit show. Like last year,
and then
we
we
needed
got
to win.
torched.
Yeah, last year was a different story. But like
Uh,
uh, I think that the Clippers needed to just keep like the winning culture was so strong to end the season that I think that it was
True.
important to keep that going. And in such an important like emotional win against the Warriors, like that's the kind of stuff that builds championships. Like the little steps along the way that like you can look back at the film and say this is what we did to beat the Warriors in crunch time, like in a game that
Hmm.
we needed to win and stuff. And the Clippers just didn't play with their food, and I can't help but be happy that the Clippers are building this winning identity, and I think that hopefully the basketball gods repay them with some good luck. But I think that more so than that, because the Rockets are scary. Amen Thompson is one of the I can't compare Amen Thompson to a
They're
single player that's ever played in the NBA. He plays like a center, but he's a wing, and he's like probably the most athletic guy in the NBA right now. Like,
Can I ask you a question when you're
sure,
done?
sure.
How many years has Ahmed Thompson played in the NBA?
Oh yeah, no, I know he's green.
How
I know
many?
he's
Like honestly, if we totaled up their starting lineup, I don't think they even, in terms of years playing in the NBA, do they even add up the to Kawhi and James Harden's experience in the NBA?
I
I
I
guess
have no
Fred Van
idea.
Vliet.
I have no
Um,
idea.
I mean, when it comes to straight up experience,
Jeff Green probably outweighs all of that, but
well, excluding him, but
yeah,
I just think like, dude, when it comes to playoff basketball, everyone knows playoff basketball is different than regular season, dude.
sure.
I mean, this is why LeBron kind of has excelled so many years in the playoffs. Is the game slows down a lot, and it is a chess match, and a lot of these young players don't recognize that and don't realize that. And
Sure.
of course, they'll win games just based off of them being young and having that energy. But when it
Hmm.
comes down to it, can they stop, slow down half court basketball and pick apart a team? And I just don't think that they can do that under playoff pressure. And which is why I think that Golden State, Steph Curry of all people, I just, I think Steph Curry is gonna, I'd be shocked if that series goes longer than six games.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see. But bottom line, we got the Denver Nuggets in front of us, and I really do think that there's a lot of things involved in this series that bode well for the Clippers. I am not at all saying that Zoo's going to stop Jokic. I don't think that Jokic has reached inevitable status to where he's going to do what he's going to do, and there's not much you
Hmm.
can do about it. Um, but I do think that Zoo isn't going to look like a fish out of water against him, and that's really, really important. Um, Zoo's been good enough this season to where if we just get 75% of Zoo that we've seen all regular season, that's a very, very good center. That's still a top three center. I
Hmm.
think that matchup is important. I do think that Jamal Murray's health is still kind of in question. He hasn't looked like the Jamal Murray that we're used to in years.
True.
And I
Yeah.
truly mean that.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't know if that's something that the Clippers are going to be able to take advantage of. I do know one thing that if Jamal Murray gets switched onto Kawhi or gets switched onto even James Harden, I'm not sure if he can keep up defensively. And that's another thing is I think that the Nuggets haven't been a very good defensive team this year, and
Hmm.
that boils down to their personnel. I mean, they have Christian Brown, they have Aaron Gordon, who will be guarding Kawhi Leonard and actually does a pretty good job against Kawhi Leonard historically. Um, Russ can defend a bit, but outside of
Trash.
that, I mean, you have Peyton Watson who can defend, but he's not much of an offensive player at all, and
Hmm.
he's inexperienced. Um, there are some defensive
Inexperienced.
holes. Inexperienced. Peyton Watson.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's like his third season in the league or whatever.
Well, he did
Um,
well in that championship run for them.
was he on that team?
He was. That was two
Are
years
you
ago, dude.
sure?
Hmm. That was two
Okay.
years ago, dude.
Okay, yeah. But I mean they lost KCP and he was a huge
Hmm.
part of their their three-point shooting success.
Yeah.
Michael Porter's been kind of hit and miss this season from what I understand. He can still get it going. He's going to be a guy to watch. But it's not only that, but like the Nuggets don't take a ton of threes. They shoot a high percentage, but they don't take a ton of threes. And I think with the defensive personnel that the Clippers have, I'm just gonna come out and say it. I think Chris Dunn can hold his own on Jamal Murray. I think that
Mm.
like we finally have a stopper that can really hang with Jamal Murray, even if Jamal Murray is at his best. Chris Dunn has been that good. I mean, Chris Dunn covers so much ground. He's a free safety out there. Like most of the steals that Chris Dunn gets aren't on his own defensive assignment. It's he'll float over to someone else's defensive assignment, get his hand in the passing lane, or just rip it out of somebody's hand. He's been amazing, and so I think he's going to do a good job with Jamal Murray. So if you shut down Jamal Murray and you let Jokic do his thing, or not let Jokic do his thing, but run single coverage, you're basically telling Christian Brown and Aaron Gordon, who's actually shot a decent clip from three this season,
He has.
Aaron Gordon and Russell Westbrook to beat you, and Michael Porter Jr. It's like, can that production outweigh the production of Norm Powell, Bogdan Bogdanovic, if he's got it going? Bogey's been great recently.
Hmm.
Kawhi Leonard, this version of Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, and Ivica Zubac. Then you have guys like I said, Chris Dunn is an X factor because if he's being left open for three and he's hitting the ball, hitting the three ball at the percentage that he's been hitting it at lately, that's 9 extra points, 10 extra points that you didn't have. And then you factor in Derek Jones, who's been a stud all season long on both sides of the floor. Nico Batum, if he's healthy, who literally against the Rockets team went for 15 points in 9 minutes.
Hmm.
Like the Clippers have so many weapons, and I don't know if Denver has has the amount of defensive tools that they would need to try and stop everybody. Now, Clippers can't get into these offensive slumps that we've seen from them throughout the season. But if the Clippers can remain consistent and get production from guys that they need it from, I think that that's really important. And another X factor, like I said, is Ben Simmons. I mean, the Nuggets have switchable guys. Michael Porter's switchable. Gordon's switchable. But if Ben Simmons can compete on defense, grab rebounds, play physical, and move the ball, be another ball handler, like there's so many options for this Clippers squad.
Hmm.
And I think that really bodes well for a Denver team that just lost their head coach. And I know that you say that it's not a huge deal, but I do think that like that kind of
No, no, I
thing
didn't say it was
resonates,
not a huge deal.
but not a big enough deal.
Yeah.
Um, But I do think that that kind of thing resonates, especially if what we're hearing is true, and a reason why he was fired was because of his preferential treatment against for Russell Westbrook. It's
Bruh.
like these little things kind of creep into the
How does that
minds of
happen,
everybody in the
bro?
locker room, and like I don't. Basically, bottom line, I'll let you speak your piece, but I'm kind of going off a tangent. But I think my bottom line is we're looking at a Denver team that's far from perfect right
Of
now.
course.
Not only on the court but off the court. And the Clippers are far from perfect too, but the Clippers have hit the stride at a perfect time to where they look like the on-court chemistry is great.
Hmm.
The off-court chemistry is great. The on-court chemistry is great. What we're seeing from production-wise from our players is great. We're seeing the best version of Kawhi, James, and Zoo that we've seen in years.
Hmm.
So I think that maybe it's screaming perfect storm to me, and I don't think that this series is going to be easy. I don't think it's going to be short. But my prediction, and I'll let you get to your prediction and your kind of recap as well. But my prediction is that the Clippers win this at Intuit Dome in 6 games. That's my prediction. Um, Obviously, we'll see what happens, but just right off the bat, given all of that, I think that that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you made, some great points. Like I said, I guess I already made my prediction. I do think that we'll win in 7 games. I do think that the 4 wins we get are going to be very hard fought wins.
Sure.
And I think they're going to be high level, hard fought wins because, um, you know, the Nuggets didn't get the 4 seed on accident. You saw how much effort we, the Clippers, put in the entire season to end up with the same record as the Nuggets this season, right? And to say that this is a bad season for them, to say that they have gone through so much turmoil. Obviously, their coach got fired, GM got fired. Things weren't going the way they wanted it to go, and to still end up with the same record as the Clippers. That means that at some point during the season, they were winning games. So they know with this squad, they know how to win a game. And, I think having a guy lead your team like Nikola Jokic, who is averaging a triple double, who is a multi time MVP, who is a finals MVP, who is a champion, who's done it 2 years ago. I just think that every game is going to be so difficult to win because you're facing against a guy who can just turn it on and will his team to a win. Obviously, there's always that X factor that Russell Westbrook chokes the game and scores 1 point and talks shit and fights the entirety of the Clippers and loses the games
There's
for
always
his
that.
team.
Yeah,
That would
that'd be
be
awesome.
lovely. And
That'd be awesome.
there's always a very high chance that happens. We all know
A
Russell
very
Westbrook.
high chance that
No, it
that
is.
specifically happens.
No, it actually is. There is a high chance. The dude
Yeah. Okay.
sucks.
Hey, I'll
Um,
take it.
he literally blows layup. I mean, we saw towards the end of the season, this dude lost them like 3 games straight up just because he was so bad, dude. I mean, everyone knows that blown layup against who was it against?
That was
Um,
against the Timberwolves.
Against the Timberwolves, where Nikola Jokic scored a 60-point triple
Had a
double,
career game.
and they
Yeah.
had a career game, and they lost because Russell Westbrook missed an open layup,
And then he
dude.
fouled a 3-point shooter.
And
Don't
then he
forget
fouled a
that
three
part
point
at the
shooter
buzzer.
to seal the seal the win for the T Wolves. Like I said, high chance Russ just hooks us up with 1 or 2 games,
One more
which will
time
be
for old, one more time for old time's sake, Russ.
which in that case I do think we can win in 6 games if Russ hooks us up with a couple games.
That'd be
But
sick.
assuming that Russ doesn't do that, um, I just think that these are going to be hard. It's going to be a harder series than I think a lot of people recognize.
I agree with that.
I think that our series and the Lakers series are are both going to be 7 games.
Okay.
Like I was saying, people are forgetting how crazy that Timberwolves Nuggets matchup was last year. They
Yeah.
both were really fighting it out down to game 7, where I feel like it was just a matter of who had more energy at the end of the day, and it seemed like the Timberwolves had way more energy and they came out ready to win that game, in which they did. and that kind of screwed them for the next series. But I just don't think that this Nuggets team is an easy out. Like I was saying, they won games this season. They won 50 games.
Absolutely not.
That's not an
Yeah.
easy thing to do. I mean, obviously we have too, but you know, I just think that this matchup is, there's the 4 or 5 seeds are always going to be a close matchup. So,
Totally, and I'm not without concern. I think one of my bigger concerns is the defensive liabilities of Norm and Bogey that we saw against
mhm,
that Warriors team in that last game of the season, where they were kind of being exposed on defense and their shot wasn't
right,
falling, so it wasn't enough to keep them on the floor. Things like that. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to dwell too much on the negative. It's probably because I'm just riding such a high right now. Everything's kind of peaking at the right time, and it's really hard not to be really positive. But I do
hmm,
agree, this is going to be a tough series, and I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to 7. But I'm sticking with 6.
okay,
Um, I think that the Clippers steal one game in Denver. I think the Denver Nuggets steal one game at Intuit, and then I think the Clippers win out. Um, so yeah, I mean, anything can happen in the playoffs,
true,
including health, injuries and stuff like that. So I think my biggest thing is I just hope that the Clippers can stay healthy and give the
I
fans
agree.
a chance to see this team healthy and
Hmm.
compete. And if we lose because of a missed shot, or if we lose because of a turnover or greatness from Nikola Jokic, then so be it. But I want to be able to say that the Clippers gave it one shot to do it healthy. Like that's what I'm asking. So um yeah, I mean, if you were to name, I'm just going to ask you a couple quick questions and then we'll jump into to what we're going to finish out this episode with. But
Hmm.
who do you think is the X factor for the Clippers and why?
I mean, there can be an
It can be
X
an
factor.
obvious it can be an obvious X factor, but I'm more so referring to, like, who do you think might be a more unspoken X factor and why in this series?
Well, I guess it's Zoo. If
Okay.
we're talking about unspoken, I think it's Zoo. I think that he has the heaviest task in this series, and
Literally and figuratively.
literally and figuratively, and like literally no one else can defend this dude. Can even come close on the Clippers.
Sure.
Um, like
I don't know. Ben Simmons,
liter
brother.
Ben Simmons will get picked apart. I mean, Ben Simmons is a pretty good defender and all, but I think Jokic has like 50 pounds on him,
Oh,
dude,
for sure.
and he's
And
just gonna back him down in the paint.
I
And I
really hope
think
the
he would get
Clippers don't. Sorry, go
Ben
ahead.
Simmons would get. I think Ben Simmons would get torched. Low
I
key.
really hope the Clippers don't help out too much on Jokic, because that seems to get teams hurt when you guard Jokic
No,
is doubling him.
it's gotta be straight up. It's gotta be,
I agree.
um, it's gotta be Zoo versus Jokic.
Mano y mano.
And when I'm expecting Zoo to use all 6 fouls every game.
That
It
would
needs to.
suck. That
No, no,
would
no, no,
suck.
absolutely not. No, it's got to be like Patrick Beverly said this. He said, "I have 6 fouls. Why would I not use them? Use the
Because you
fouls.
won't be on
You
the court if you
no,
do.
but we don't give a fuck. That's the thing.
Okay,
Make it
interesting
physical.
strategy.
No, on some real shit. Make it physical. Why would you
Sure.
not? Why would you not foul 7 times 4, 28? Why would you not foul Jokic 28 times in a series? Like, what do you
Because
lose from
you're just
fouling?
giving it points. The game.
Yeah, no. Yeah, but I don't care. I
Oh,
think that we
okay.
need to be as physical
So
as
throw the
possible.
game as long as we can meet our foul
No,
limit.
no, no. I think not throw the game. I just think that we need to be as physical as possible and like put that wear and tear on him that he
Sure.
feels
Okay.
every game going
Yeah,
forward.
I'm with that.
All right, for 6 fouls one game.
Maybe that's what
Next
Amir
game,
Coffee is for
12.
in this series. Just
No,
check
no.
Amir in, play,
I think it's. I
foul the
think it's.
shit out of Jokic 6 times,
No,
and then
no, no.
check out.
Like not. That's. I think you're misunderstanding what I'm trying to say. I'm
I
trying to
know, I
say
know. I'm
like
just, I'm.
I'm trying to say instead of giving, like let's say Jokic makes a drive, beats Zoo on a drive to the basket. Okay, he's gonna make the layup anyways. Foul him. Use that. Use one foul. Okay, next time it happens, use another. Like I don't understand. You know what I mean? Like, we should try to like wear him down.
Sure.
Obviously, like he's talented, right?
And he's
He's gonna
so much
pick,
better conditioned than he looks,
of
too.
course, and
Like,
he's gonna pick us apart. Like, that's a fact. It's gonna happen. He's gonna pick us apart. But like what we can control is how much weight we put on his shoulders and how much like wear and tear we can put on him. He wakes
sure.
up, he's got a bruise on his arm, he's got a couple scratches, he got
Don't play dirty, though.
no,
Like,
no, don't play dirty, but we can be tactical. Why
okay.
not? They're
All right.
professionals.
Just
They
put like a
take
bunch
their
of mouse traps
no,
in
no,
the
they
paint.
take their salt baths. You've seen LeBron get ready for game day, dude. They take their
But yeah,
baths, they take their naps. I mean, they're professionals. They do this, but I don't think a few a few bruises here and there is going to hurt anyone,
sure.
except for him, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Then that's interesting, and I do think that the Clippers need to make him feel uncomfortable in whatever way that they can.
Exactly.
But I do think that if that means to double team him, I think the Clippers need to go away from that. I think we're good
Oh,
defensively
absolutely
enough
not.
to where we can run single coverage against him. And if he goes for his normal triple double, I'm kind of in the belief, so be it. Don't let anybody else get involved. Shut Jamal Murray
The
down.
Luca tactic.
Yeah, exactly. Shut Jamal Murray down. Shut Michael Porter down. Shut Aaron Gordon down. Make Jokic beat you and Jokic only. And if Jokic has to go through the wall of Zoo to get to the hoop, then that becomes a lot harder.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I like that. I like that idea. Um, but yeah, I think um, that pretty much does it. I'm really excited for this grudge match, this rematch series against the Denver Nuggets. Hopefully, it doesn't go the same way that it did the first time that we saw these
Oh
guys.
no, dude.
But
Yeah.
we do have a different coach. Also, shouts out Ty Lue and shouts out Jeff Van Gundy. I mean, those two have worked their asses off to get the Clippers
Hmm.
to the point that they are at. Ty Lue can finally have a chance to really do something with a healthy squad in the playoffs.
Hmm.
Ty Lue wasn't at the helm the last time these two teams saw each other in the playoffs. So Ty Lue, I think, takes this personally. And Jeff Van Gundy,
He
man,
was on the
what
bench, I think, right?
he wasn't the bench, but don't pull a Doc Rivers on me. Um, and Jeff Van Gundy's been awesome with his defensive schemes. He's completely changed the identity of this team. Those guys deserve a pat on the back, and I'm really
Hmm.
excited to see what those guys can do off the bench. From the Eagles' nest in the playoffs. I think that that's going to be really really special. Um, but yeah, guys, the 2024-2025 regular season has come to an end, and it's been a really
Yeah.
special season. Um, been a lot of highs, a lot of lows, but with the Clippers are here and they have a chance. First playoff series in Intuit Dome. I am so excited. I'll probably be at Game 3 or Game 4. So if you Clipper fans end up going, hit us up. Get let us know where you're at. We'll say what's up.
Hmm.
Um, but before we get out of here, I want Rolla to talk about a little special thing that we're doing for you guys on the eve of playoffs for all you
Yes,
viewers out
sir.
there.
What's up, Clipper Nation? We are once again doing a little giveaway, and this time we will be doing a merch drop along with some Amazon gift cards and some gift cards around. We're still trying to figure out the logistics of the gift cards, but the main thing is the merch drop. I mean, we're gonna be giving away sweatshirts. I think we're gonna be making a couple hats,
Yep.
shirts, and our fans of the Clip Service podcast can rep us and rep Clipper Nation. So for every win, make sure you guys are commenting on our videos. I think we're gonna do like a little kind of a little competition type thing of whoever gets closest to the final score of the game of the win. Wins, or we might do a randomized raffle. We're kind of playing it by ear, but make sure you guys are staying engaged and commenting and liking our posts and our YouTube videos, and maybe you can win.
Yeah, just stay tuned. Rolla will usually put the information on these sweepstakes on the Instagram page.
Yep.
We'll have that on our Twitter page as well. So just stay tuned and learn about how you can win some merch. We really appreciate the engagement. You guys have been awesome. Everybody that's stuck around and listened to us and checked us out. We really appreciate it, and we hope to keep it going, guys. So yeah, I think that does it for this last episode of the regular season. We are going into the playoffs, ready to get a win, guys. First game in Denver is this Saturday. I will be watching nervously with some sort of alcoholic beverage
Oh yeah.
by my side the entire time.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. As Rolla said up top, you can catch us on YouTube. You can listen to us on Spotify, Amazon Music, Deezer, and Apple Podcasts. Uh, get at us on Instagram and keep an eye out for that sweepstakes at Clip Service Pod as well as Twitter. Um, and yeah, guys, as who should I pick this time around?
Ivica Zubac, dude.
Yeah, you know what?
The GOAT.
As Ivica Zubats once said, "Let's go Clippers."
Let's go Clippers.
Salute.